Now on to today. Yes?
On the other one, the Phalaenopsis, you call if it puts on the little plant on it, you call it a kiki?
Yes.
Okay. Do you leave those on?
The question was, if you have a plant that has a kiki, do you leave that on there? No, actually. You want to wait until that kiki, when it grows roots that are about 1 to 2 inches long, you can actually remove it from that bloom spike and pot it up into a separate orchid. And then you have another orchid that's a giveaway. That's the only way to those self-propagate themselves. Slipper orchids are easy. They divide out all the time. Cattleya orchids, which we're about to look at, these are easy because you can divide these very simply. But a Phalaenopsis, you have to let it make that kiki, or they do what is called mericloning, and they actually do genetic tissue culture, and they tissue culture it out. They have not learned how to tissue culture slipper orchids. So it's the one thing that they've not been able to master. So if you want to give somebody a more prized gift, you give them a slipper orchid, because that is it takes about 7 years from seed to flower, typically, for a slipper orchid. Now you know why they tend to be a little bit more pricey. For a mericlone plant, it's usually in tissue culture for maybe a year on average. I'm not quite exactly sure, but let's call it about a year. And then they take it out and they grow the little plant up. So it may be like 1 to 2 years to have a blooming size plant for those. That's why those are a little less expensive in the market too. And especially if they don't have a name, they tend to be a little less expensive as well. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to look at these here. These are Cattleya orchids, and these are a corsage orchid. And I'm going to show you what a blooming one looks like. This is a Cattleya orchid, and of course, like anybody else, they come in all sorts of shapes and colors and sizes. But this is what you would think of as your common corsage orchid. Okay? These require a little bit higher light to bloom, so you really need a brightly lit window or maybe a greenhouse environment to try, to grow these successfully. If you look at this, and I'm going to turn this sideways so you can see, these are what are called sympodial growers. In other words, these grow by a rhizome or a pseudobulb above the soil level in here, and we'll call it soil for simplicity's sake, but we all know it's not a real soil, it's an orchid bark. So if you look at this in here, remember I was telling you that orchids only bloom from new growth, right? This has a directionality of the way that it's growing. And it has a rhizome that's growing across the top of the pot, and we can actually follow the growth of this orchid. So since this one's easy because it's blooming, this is the newest growth right here. And if you look at it from the base of this growth here grew this leaf here, and that's what bloomed. So I'm going to follow it back down this rhizome to this one here. This is the oldest leaf and oldest growth in this plant. And at the base of that rhizome, or at the base of this leaf, it grew this leaf. And then from the base of that leaf, it grew this leaf. And then from the base of this one, it grew this leaf. And then from the base of this one, and this one. And after this is done blooming, down at the base down here, you're going to start to see a new growth come off of there. And actually, if I take and remove this papery material, I'm going to show you this. And this papery material commonly forms on here. This is just the older outer leaves that are not needed anymore. And it's it's good habit when you're repotting, and it's usually an easy time to do it, to go ahead and try to just gently peel those off of there. If this was in nature, birds would come and take it off of there, the wind would blow it away, but in a greenhouse, remember, we cheat Mother Nature, and so I'm having to do the work for her. But we do this because bugs love to hide underneath there. And if you look at the very base of this, down here, there is a little bud, and I'll pass it around and show it to you. And I still have not uncovered it. And I want to be really careful because I don't want to damage it.
Hold it.
Yeah. There it is. See the tip of it right there? It's kind of real gently underneath there. So it's right there at the base down there is a tiny little bud. It looks like a little fingernail on the outside of that right there. That's the tip of it right at my fingernail. Do you see it there?
Yeah.
I'll show you another one on a second. We may find one that is a little easier to see. Usually at the base of each leaf there are 2 buds. Usually one will grow and develop, and the other one is as a backup. So that means that everywhere on the back of this plant where there's one leaf, at the base of it, it has probably a dormant bud, which means that we are able to kind of take this and divide it into sections and hopefully get it to regenerate and regrow from that dormant node or that dormant bud that may be on there. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So we're actually going to kind of come in here, we're going to pull these out of the pot and repot them, and we're going to do surgery on them, and we're going to create maybe 2, sometimes 3. These are all the same, yes. These are all Cattleya orchids is what they are. You want about 3 to 5 mature growths per division, all right? So on this one, we could very easily divide this one into 2 orchids. You could have one in the back side here and one here. And as long as there's a dormant bud somewhere on the back here, we can have a new plant out of it, even though this doesn't look like much. And these look shriveled. And a lot of people will ask me, Jessica, should I remove these off of here? No, you shouldn't, unless they're diseased, or sometimes they'll dry out and kind of die off. You can remove them at that point. Every once in a while, if I'm repotting and it just doesn't fit in the pot correctly, sometimes I'll cut them off. But these are called back bulbs or pseudobulbs, and these are storing energy in here. Even though it looks shriveled, that's natural. It's storing energy for the rest of the plant, all right? So as long as, you know, my new growth is nice and healthy, I have this gorgeous leaf and this beautiful flower that actually kind of smells like lemons, if you want to smell it. Cattleya, a lot of Cattleya orchids are very fragrant.
Ooh, that's nice.
And sometimes they're more fragrant in the morning or in the evening. Can you smell it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so if you walk in the greenhouse right now, there's something in there somewhere that is just really, really fragrant. So you can go and smell some of the Cattleyas in there if you want to. All right, so we're going to take a look at these and we're going to divide these. You ready? All right, everybody should have a little trash can next to you. If you don't, I'll get you one. All right, and we'll share too. You can have this one. We can share. And so what we're going to do is everybody gets an orchid. You're going to get that one. You're going to get that one. You're going to get that one. And you get, now look, this one right here, I'm going to point out, see this little tongue out the center of this? This is the new leaf right here. And at the top, it's got a little tongue sticking out right there. This is called a sheath. All right, remember I said they only bloom from new growth? Here's the new growth. This is the flower buds right here. It's called a sheath. And what will happen is the buds will develop down inside of there, and eventually they'll develop and get fat and poke their heads up at the top and open up. And in fact, on this one here, you can't even see the sheath that was in there because it's sometimes they dry up and they're gone. All right.
Oh,
but
I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, it did have a sheath in there. They look like little tongues, basically. So this one is about to bloom, and because of that, we're not going to repot it and divide it because it would most likely abort that. So we're just going to put this one to the side and let it bloom, and then we'll go ahead and repot it. This one, you can see right here from the newest growth, this was the sheath on the outside, that papery material, and on the inside is the old little bloom spike that the blooms were off of, all right? So when we're doing that, we can either pull or cut that material out of there because, again, bugs will love to hide inside of there and it can kind of hold moisture. But at the base of this, you will see my dormant bud. So see it right there? Looks like a little fingernail, kind of the shape of a diamond on the side of that there.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody see that there?
Yes.
We'll have some more examples in a second. Kind of looks like it looks like a fingernail on the side of that. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my tags. All right. Everybody take their tags out of their plant, and actually this one is going to be yours now. So take your tags out of your plant, set them to the side. We'll make some more room here at the table. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to take your plant out of there, and some of these may have what's called a rhizome clip on the side. If you do, you can just remove that off of there and set it to the side. I think you have one, sir. And that basically was, last time I repotted this, it was to hold and anchor it in there. So we may actually reuse that in a little bit, or we may not have to. So everybody go ahead and take your tags out, set them to the side where you're not going to lose them or get them mixed up with your neighbor. And then you're going to get over your bucket and you're gently going to unseat that out of there. Now we always want to make sure we're working with a moist orchid. So always water your orchid really well before you start repotting it. Where did our bucket go that we're going to share that guy? I'm going to sit him right here. All right, so I'm going to kind of gently pull, and you can kind of pull from the top if you want to. I just said I wasn't going to repot this one, and then I grabbed it.
Throw the pot away.
If your pot is brittle or broken, throw it away. If not, then set it to the side, and what we'll do is we're going to sterilize it, and I will reuse them. So that's a reusable pot. You can either set it under the table or make a collection on the top, and we definitely will reuse that. Yeah, just set it down here would be just fine. Yeah, I didn't mean to put that in there. Okay, so I have my big boy here. I'm taking it out. And as we start looking down through here,
What's this?
what you got there? That is a weed. So you can go ahead and pull that out. See all these fibrous roots right here?
Yeah.
That is all from that weed. And this is actually part of it too. And yes, he is a little rat. I don't like those weeds. All right, so as we're going through here, what you can do is you can either take one of these little sticks, and I also have some chopsticks. You can also use a stake, and you can use this to kind of work some of this bark out of there. And for example, Mitzi, yours came out real easy, and if you have bark that's stuck to the root and it doesn't want to come off, leave it. If you can gently peel it off, then you can, but don't feel like you have to get 100% of it off of there. Now this is where patience comes in, okay? Because sometimes you get one out and it goes real easy. Sometimes you get one out and it does not go very easy. And some of these have lava rock in the bottom of them from the last time I repotted. And you see all these dead roots that are coming? They feel like hollow noodles. Whereas I have live roots too. Yeah.
Hollow noodles.
So we're slowly going to start working these apart here. And if they break, they break, because we're about to repot these. And I regret using lava rock in the bottom of these pots because these roots have grown all the way through them, and it's a little bit of a pain to go ahead and repot them.
And you mean just like rip off?
Well, let's feel these. So that's dead. These all kind of feel dead. We're going to kind of tug test on them. And see how it's got the string in it? So, this would still be a live root. This could still be a live root. That is in between. You don't have many live roots left on yours. Can I see your orchid real quick?
Sure.
What, on you have a little bit of a extenuating circumstance. Did I say that correct?
You did.
It didn't sound very right. One, you can see, look, this was that bud right there, and it's brown.
It died.
It died. But we still have one on the other side. So there's still
Do they
hope.
always do that on either side?
Sometimes they do, and that's why they have two. It's one as a backup. So it could have been. This one has very, very few root system to it. But this is alive here, and this is alive. This is a live root. This is a live one because these are all very, very firm. This right here feels dead to me. And go ahead and set this down so you can feel these. Put the tags in here and I'll help you.
What do you do with this?
You can gently peel it off. There you go. So this is dead. This one definitely is kind of mushy feeling, so that one's dead, and we can do a tug test. And it's not coming off, so we're going to leave it. If in doubt, leave it, all right? But the ones that you're definitely dead, you can go ahead and start to gently trim out of here.
I actually brought mine with me.
We'll repot them at the end of class. If you have one to repot, just let me know, especially if you have to leave sooner too.
Yeah.
Okay? And you walk around, see how everybody's doing. I'm sorry. You're doing good there. You can use this one as a little longer if you want. If that's working good too.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just kind of start from one area and just start piecing them apart out of there. All right? So keep working on that. You're doing good. Let me go get some more chopsticks for y'all. Anybody else need a tool to work with? I've got one here and there.
Maybe. I'm not sure about mine.
Let me come over there and we'll look at it.
None of them look really nice. but
Okay.
I'm not.
We always, and I'm gonna play off of that. You don't go by looks. So
Okay.
we always go by feel, all right?
Okay.
If I feel this one, it feels like a hollow noodle.
Mm-hmm.
And if I do, everybody see, if I do a tug test on here, very gently, it's got, A, breaking off, and B, there's that root left on the inside, okay? This one feels very firm, and this one's very firm. This one feels like a hollow noodle. This is the perfect example of a hollow noodle feel. Feel that one. You want to feel it?
Definitely.
Feel this one right here. Hollow noodle.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna feel this one.
Start?
I'm sorry?
Oh, gross.
Yeah. You want to feel my hollow noodle right there?
Yeah.
See, feel the difference between that?
Yeah,
So that's what you want to kind of start feeling through there, and you're going to take your snips, and you're just going to
Oh,
start.
instead of tugging, I go
Instead
ahead
of tugging, you want to cut. You want to
if
cut
you
as
know
much as
it's
possible.
a hollow noodle,
Yes.
you just go ahead and okay.
Snip it off of there. So start working your way. See, that one's definitely hollow noodle.
Yeah.
Those should all be sterile there, and we'll go ahead and sterilize in between our plants as well. How's it going?
It's just very dense.
Okay, well, we're going to divide this.
Okay.
So let me show you something here. First of all, we want to be real careful of our new growth and our new buds. And if I turn this, in fact, this got damaged at some point coming out of the pot. And here it is right here. So it broke off, which is not a big deal, but that was the little bud that was sitting there that accidentally got broken off. So we just want to be careful.
Yeah.
But we have a backup. And I do it all the time. So you want to be careful of it, and I should have pointed it out to you, but they're just really, really brittle at this point. So
Okay.
not the end of the world. It happens, and it's not a big deal.
Sorry.
But we're going to kind of peel some of this papery off.
I'm so glad I'm not the only one who talks to him.
Oh, God.
I think I have one of those that,
Called
that I
crazy.
need to go part way up on because it's dead here, obviously.
But
right
live
here,
there?
it feels kind of
Okay,
nice.
so cut up into that live tissue a little bit.
Okay.
All right, so on yours, this was the oldest growth, and then it grew this one, then this one, and then this one, and both buds developed at off of this one
Oh
here.
wow. Yeah.
So it basically split into two, and you have two growths, two directional growths here.
Okay.
So from the base of this one grew this one, and now this baby. But on the other side, it grew this one, and then this one, and then this one. So we talked about needing 3 to 5 per division, and you are ready to divide these. So we're going to divide it right here because we have 3 mature growths here, and this is our direction of growth there. And this one here, you have 3 semi-mature growths, 2 to 3 right here. So we could possibly even cut it right here, and then you're left with 3 on this back bulb, and as long as there are dormant buds on the back, then we should be good there. So what we're going to do is actually take your pruners, and we're going to cut through the rhizome. So I'm going to cut right here, straight through that rhizome, and then I'm going to cut right here, straight through that rhizome. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my handy dandy little saw, and we're going to saw that sucker apart.
Glad we get to actually do it.
Well, that's how you learn.
That's right.
Okay, so this is called a keyhole saw. They're usually used in, it's a Japanese typical bonsai tool, but it works perfect for sawing rhizomes apart on orchids. So
you had to know kind of the roadmap.
exactly.
Before you
That's a
knew where
perfect
to cut.
analogy.
Okay.
So now we're going to kind of, this is where I cut it. You can see in between there.
Yeah.
And we're going to kind of get in between here from the bottom. And we're going to saw through this guy. And this seems drastic, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You feel like Jack the Ripper?
I do a little bit. And they're kind of my babies. So I kind of sawed through there. But I still want to be careful with this root system as much as possible.
Okay.
Right? And so somewhere on here, instead of ripping and pulling this apart, I'm actually going to take my snips and cut where I can. And I also kind of do a wiggle. You can wiggle them apart too. Or if you see where one root ends and one begins, then we want to kind of give it the longest root possible when I'm doing this. And we're continuing to wiggle here. I can see it's joined attached there still. You want to hold that side? Sometimes two hands is nice. And let's not pull. I'm just going to kind of find where they're touching and cut them gently apart. And a little wiggle. Still coming. Watch your fingers. And we have one more there. So there's your new little baby.
Okay.
All right. So now you're kind of at a point where you can gently, and be careful working up, make sure you're over your trash can. It's okay, it happens. You can go ahead and pull, don't worry about it. Kind of use your little stick and get as much media as you can off of there, but be real careful that we don't damage those. And remember any new leads that may be on there, you want to be careful you don't accidentally knock those off. And on this last part here, same thing, we're going to kind of saw through here.
Do you not worry about little bitty ones? See what I got right
Those are your oldest back bulbs or back growth right there.
Yep.
And you really don't need to worry about those too much.
Okay.
So you're going to make 3 children out of that?
We're going to make 3 children out of this.
Wow.
So you really don't even want to save these like that.
We'll look at that in a second. They can make another one. If there's a dormant bud on there, it'll grow another plant.
We'll grow another plant. I can see that.
And I have one more little root holding me together here. And here we go. You have got 3 babies out of there.
Wow.
All right, so I'm going to set this over here so we keep them all. I'm going to let you clean them all up, and then we'll go to repot them.
You did say for us to trim off these little skinny ones, the strings.
Yes.
Didn't you?
Mhm.
Okay.
All right, and so on yours, let's take a look at all this in here. Let's see, maybe one dead root right here. Let's get that one out of there.
I figured a lot of them were dead.
Yeah, remember I said if in doubt, leave them. So this is a dead, but the rest of this was alive. And that one's definitely dead. Okay, so we're going to look at yours here, and you have oldest growth, then the next one, then it split into 2. So you had this one, and then it split and grew this way, and it grew this way. So right in between here, if you cut, you can probably have 2 plants because you have a dormant bud there, and you also have a dormant bud there.
So we're going to cut it right there?
We're going to cut it right there. Exactly.
Oh, God.
And I'm going to sterilize my tool right here because you kind of want a half jaw. Don't be afraid of the torch. Embrace the torch. And we're just going to flame sterilize this cutting tool here. It doesn't have to be glowing hot. You just need to get it good and hot.
This is so cute. My old man is going to be so thrilled that I'm going to ask him for one.
Ah, I love that. Okay, so
Right there?
yep.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna hold it, and these are hot, so I don't want to accidentally burn you. So watch your fingers. And we're gonna go right straight through there.
Wow.
All right. So now we have 2 plants.
To make cuts on it.
All right. Now, since this one doesn't have just a perfect root system, we're gonna grab a pot, and we're gonna put it in probably this size pot here. And these have directionality of growth. So remember when this is our oldest and this is our newest, which means it's growing this way along that rhizome.
Right.
So we want to pot this to where, and I'm going to get a bigger pot so you can kind of see what I'm saying, but we're going to put it in that little pot. You want to put your oldest growth up against the side of the pot like this, and your newest growth and your growing point in the center, so that as it's growing across the top of that pot. And so if I potted it in the center like this, it would grow up and over the side. And we want to take advantage of being in that pot as long as possible. So we're going to pot it up against the side here. And we don't want to bury the rhizome. So we're going to take it and we're going to put it in our media like so. Oops, sorry. And if you want to hold it there, sometimes a scoop helps. And I'm sorry, I told you we're going to use a smaller pot.
But you want it up against the side.
Yeah, we'll
like
still
that
want it
again.
up against the side, just like that. So we're going to dump it in.
Do you ever shake it into place?
Yeah, tap and shake. You can do that too. Sometimes I like to tap the sides of it. And then at this point, it'll go in there. Hold on one second and I'll be happy to answer it. Okay, so see how when we put that in there, we didn't bury that rhizome? But we got most of the media up underneath there, which is good. And see how he's just floppy, loosey-goosey? If we leave it like that, then it could fall over, and it's not really going to want to take a hold or take root of this pot. So remember that rhizome clip I had earlier? Like this guy right
That's
here?
where you're gonna use it.
This guy goes over the side of the pot, like so.
So much more attractive than those stupid sticks that the cats keep.
And watch your finger, because I don't want, there you go. And this kind of just helps to hold it down in that pot
Look,
to
it
where
stabilizes
it's
it.
nice and stable in there.
Where was this when I was moving?
Do you want to trim a lot of these?
We don't. You want to be real careful with those and leave as much as possible on there.
Okay.
These are all healthy, happy roots right here.
They are.
So let's leave them alone.
Now, my question was, this one broke off.
That happens. But if you look
Okay.
at it, if it had a dormant bud at the bottom of it, we could plant it. But it doesn't. This was just the leaf that broke off of the rhizome. So this is
Okay.
trash.
That's trash.
Yep.
Okay.
No big deal. And you were
Alright.
asking about this one in the back here?
Yeah.
I see a bud here, but that one has rotted off. So that one is no longer
I saw
viable.
one. Maybe.
Maybe here on this one. That one's not viable. And maybe here. That one's not viable either. Unfortunately,
That's not any good.
this has no live buds on it. So that
Alright.
one's not going
Now
to
that
grow
right
anymore.
in there is nothing. Huh?
That was where.
That's where that one broke
Exactly.
off. Okay.
So this is going to be just trash. Because
Okay.
it won't grow
The
anything.
wall, huh?
But these other two will.
Now these just have two, so it still doesn't hurt them.
No, it still will. As long as you have buds and you have some decent roots to
Yeah.
this, you're perfect. So let's get a pot for that one. And we're going to put it in this size pot here.
All right.
And I'm going to set this to the side. And I think we had some media in here that
Yeah.
may have just fallen off of there. So we're going to scoop that off the top and throw that away.
All right.
And now on the bottom is the
didn't-
fresh.
I didn't throw that. I put it.
Uh-oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to put this in here like so.
All right.
And
Just kind of.
Yeah, and remember, it's growing this way because this is the new growth on here. And if I pull this off at the base here, this is when I was saying is a good time to peel this papery material off. But we want to be real careful at the base down here because if I
That's it
peel this
right
off,
there, isn't it?
that is a root.
Right.
But on the other side here, you can see the little fingernail shadow right there.
Right.
That's your new
That's
bud.
it. Okay.
And same on this one here.
Okay, this one needs to be cleaned. too.
Yeah, go ahead and peel that off a little bit. Okay, and on yours, we're going to get a pencil and write our date on there.
One of them says due 4/12.
Yeah, that means it was a division at some
Right.
point.
But I don't know which one.
They're all the same. So they all just are basically one of the same. So if you put this one was a R513, and then we're going to put a RD, whoops, RD 1115, and this is one of two. This is an RD 1115, two of two. One tag for one tag for the other, and this one can just go in either one. Can go in here if it wanted to. So put that one in there. All right, so now you made a baby there. And we'll water that guy, and he should start growing soon.
This one, I think, is dead. Most of that.
We're gonna see how firm it is. Well, this side is firm, but that side is not. That's mushy. So cut that one off.
Oops.
That's okay.
Do you
Alright.
have any of those tweezer things?
I do. You need tweezers, or you mean
No,
the rhizome clip?
No, the little. The little thing that I can reach in there and peel this paper with. I can't get my finger in there.
Let's see what I've got.
I use them all the time for my
I have
succulents.
this. I have. I do have a
Big
little.
long ones. Yeah, like those. That's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna repot that guy next. Here's a pot, clean pot.
So you're gonna say that's big because it fits kind of like that,
That's perfect.
and we're gonna kind of like try and anchor it in like that.
Yeah, and this is your new growth is gonna come off of the
you
newest
want
pot,
him
so you
pushing
want it
towards the
pushing
front.
towards the front, just like that. Here's a scoop if you want a scoop.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I have orchid bark,
Uh-huh.
which I forgot to bring.
Uh-huh.
That doesn't look like this.
If you bought it commercially, I've never found an orchid bark that I approve of commercially.
Can I sell this?
This is my mix, and I do sell it inside. I custom blend this from all of the parent materials in it. So this is a mix this is Jessica's orchid mix. I'll help you out here.
What is that? Elbon rye or whatever
Yeah.
you have in there? Is that a winter grass or something?
It is. It's a cover crop, a winter cover crop.
Especially when it says orchid mix and it's like soil.
That is
Mine's not like
so misleading and horrible. I
This is
cannot
what I
believe that
just
they do
did.
that.
Yeah, this is crazy.
I almost want to write that company and tell them
It's
that
not.
they are doing people very,
Yeah.
very disfavor by doing that.
Aren't you freezing?
I am a little. I was at the Habitat for Humanity house all morning planting, and I left my jacket on the job site.
Oh.
And so as soon as I got here and cooled off, I was missing it. So let me show you something. See how you kind of buried that rhizome?
Actually,
We don't want to do that. So if you can kind
Oh, pull them up.
of shake it up or
Yeah.
pull it up a little bit like that. And then you can put a little bit more around it like that. And then now, because you have to be high enough for that rhizome clip to be able to
It's gotta be
to
above,
grab it.
it's gotta be above the top.
It does, yes, above your media, so to speak. All right, and we're ready for a rhizome clip. Do you want to do it?
No, I want to watch you.
Okay. Here, I gotta set it on the ground though. All right, so we want to go find a good place that's going to go up and over and really give it a good hold. And I think coming from right over here is going to be the best place. So the outside goes over the outside of the pot, and that just situates down in there. And I kind of like to give it a little shake sometime to make sure that it's holding on there. And I think on the back side here, we may be able to put a little bit more media down in there. Sometimes I'll just kind of push it down in there with my fingers. Or sometimes you can tap it and it'll kind of go down in there.
So where's the little thing that's going to become the bloom?
The bud, dormant bud, is at the base of this growth. So see it right there?
No, I can see it.
So that
It's
is,
not going to be bothered by that.
no, it's not at all. It's not too deep.